there! How's everyone shining today? It's your ever-excited host, Annabelle Cheris, reporting live from the Royal Rumor Runway, where the tea is hot, the headlines are blazing, and the palace whispers are becoming impossible to ignore. Today's conversation is not just dramatic, it is explosive. It is the kind of royal twist that leaves commentators scrambling, critics panicking, and certain palace insiders absolutely fuming behind closed doors. So settle in, grab your favorite drink, hold on to your sparkling crowns, because this conversation is dripping in suspense, emotion, intrigue, and a level of royal irony nobody saw coming. Before we begin, I want to pause for a heartfelt moment of gratitude to every single beautiful soul listening today. Truly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you for your support, your passion, your loyalty, your intelligence, and your refusal to be silenced in spaces where truth matters. This community has grown into something so powerful, so uplifting, and so fearless. Every comment, every thoughtful discussion, every moment of encouragement means more than words can ever express. You are the heartbeat of this space. You are the reason these conversations continue to thrive. And the unwavering support shown toward the Duke and Duchess of Sussex continues to shine brighter than ever, despite years of attacks, mockery, and endless attempts to diminish them. Now let's get into the royal chaos, because my goodness, the palace panic is reaching historic levels. Thank Zondi for this report, because the observations are absolutely fascinating, and honestly, it feels like certain royal commentators are completely spiraling in real time. Tom Sykes appears to be having a full-blown meltdown over the growing belief that King Charles and even elements of the British establishment may quietly be coordinating with Prince Harry behind the scenes. Yes, you heard that correctly. The same Prince Harry who has spent years being painted as the outsider, the rebel, the exile, the supposed problem child of the monarchy is suddenly looking more central to the future conversation than ever before. And here is where it gets deliciously ironic.
For the longest time, some royal commentators mocked the idea that there could ever be a thaw between Harry and the institution. They laughed at the possibility of communication. They rolled their eyes at the idea that Harry still held influence. They dismissed every hint of reconciliation as fantasy. Yet suddenly, the very people who mocked those theories are now acting deeply unsettled by the growing signs that conversations may indeed be happening quietly away from public view. That shift alone speaks volumes, because panic only erupts when people fear there may be truth behind the whispers. And what exactly are those whispers saying? That King Charles may understand something many royal commentators refuse to accept for years. Prince Harry still matters enormously to the monarchy, to Britain's global image, and to the long-term future of the royal institution itself. Now, let's think about this carefully, because the implications are enormous. If there truly are channels of communication quietly operating behind the scenes, if there really is a level of trust or coordination developing between Charles, certain government figures, and Harry, then that changes the entire royal narrative that has been aggressively pushed for years. Because suddenly Harry is no longer the isolated prince they tried to portray. Suddenly, he becomes something much more significant. A trusted figure, a stabilizing figure, a globally respected figure, and perhaps most importantly of all, a figure viewed as far more capable than certain people still physically inside palace walls. Now, isn't that extraordinary? Especially when you consider everything Harry and Meghan have endured. The attacks, the smears, the calculated leaks, the endless tabloid cruelty, the attempts to humiliate them publicly, the accusations, the deliberate distortions, the efforts to push them out completely. Despite all of that, Harry and Meghan have continued to rise in influence on the world stage while maintaining their dignity, their compassion, and their independence. That reality clearly terrifies some people, because there is one thing critics never expected. They never expected the Sussexes to thrive without the monarchy, but thrive they did, and not quietly either. From global humanitarian work to mental health advocacy, from women's empowerment initiatives to veterans' causes, from media projects to international speaking engagements, Harry and Meghan built a powerful global platform entirely on their own terms. They became influential voices beyond palace control. And perhaps most painfully for critics, they became deeply relatable to millions of ordinary people around the world. That level of public connection cannot be manufactured through staged palace photographs or carefully orchestrated balcony appearances. It has to feel authentic. And authenticity is precisely what people continue to see in Harry and Meghan. Now, here comes the truly fascinating part. If King Charles is indeed quietly maintaining communication or even strategic alignment with Harry in certain areas, it suggests something absolutely enormous about the current state of the monarchy behind closed doors. Because institutions do not lean toward people they view as irrelevant. They lean toward people they trust. And if there is growing trust in Harry, then naturally people begin asking the uncomfortable question: why? Why would a monarch reportedly place confidence in a son who left royal life rather than fully relying on the heirs who remained? That question is making royal commentators deeply nervous because it forces them to confront realities they desperately hope to avoid. And those realities are becoming increasingly visible in public perception.
Over the last several years, many observers have noticed a striking contrast between the Sussexes and the Waleses in terms of energy, messaging, and global resonance. Harry and Meghan often appear dynamic, emotionally intelligent, modern, internationally engaged, and capable of commanding attention far beyond Britain's borders. Their projects consistently generate worldwide conversations. Their interviews dominate headlines globally. Their appearances trend internationally within minutes. Meanwhile, palace efforts surrounding William and Kate sometimes feel increasingly forced, heavily managed, and strangely disconnected from wider public enthusiasm. Now, before anyone gasps dramatically into their royal teacups, let's be clear, public perception is not always about titles. It is about emotional connection. And Harry and Meghan understand emotional connection in ways that traditional royal structures often struggle to replicate. People feel emotionally invested in their journey because it reflects resilience, survival, independence, love under pressure, and standing firm against powerful systems. That narrative resonates deeply in today's world, especially among younger audiences, especially among international audiences, especially among people tired of outdated elitism and carefully polished perfection. Now, imagine how unsettling that must be for palace strategists. Imagine spending years attempting to sideline someone only to realize that person's influence keeps growing stronger internationally, while your own carefully protected image begins losing momentum. That would create panic. That would create frustration. And yes, that would absolutely create meltdowns among certain royal commentators who built entire careers mocking Harry and Meghan. Because suddenly the conversation changes from Harry is finished to Harry may still hold significant influence. That is a devastating reversal for critics. And let's discuss another layer of this fascinating situation because it matters enormously. Prince Harry possesses something extremely valuable in modern leadership spaces: emotional intelligence. Now, some critics dismiss emotional intelligence as weakness. But globally, emotionally intelligent leadership is increasingly viewed as strength. Harry speaks openly about grief, trauma, healing, fatherhood, military service, mental health, and vulnerability. Those conversations connect powerfully with millions because they feel human rather than rehearsed. King Charles may very well recognize the value in that, particularly during an era when institutions everywhere are struggling to appear relatable and emotionally relevant. Harry brings relatability. Harry brings honesty. Harry brings modernity. Harry brings global reach. And perhaps most importantly, Harry understands media landscapes in ways older royal systems often do not. Remember, this is someone who has lived through relentless press intrusion since childhood. He understands exactly how narratives are shaped, manipulated, weaponized, and consumed globally. That insight alone makes him extraordinarily valuable. Now, let's talk about Meghan, because no conversation about this royal dynamic is complete without acknowledging the Duchess of Sussex herself. Meghan Markle continues to remain one of the most discussed women on earth. Think about that carefully. Years after leaving royal duties, she still dominates conversations globally. Her interviews spark international debates. Her fashion choices sell out instantly. Her speeches trend worldwide. Her projects attract enormous curiosity. Her name alone drives engagement across media platforms. Critics may scream endlessly, but numbers do not lie. Interest in Meghan remains massive. And perhaps the greatest irony of all is that the attempts to silence or discredit her often made her even more famous. Because audiences witnessed something important. They witnessed a woman subjected to extraordinary levels of hostility while remaining poised, articulate, and composed under immense pressure. That resilience created admiration across the globe. Now, imagine being palace insiders watching all of this unfold.
Imagine realizing that despite every effort to isolate the Sussexes, they remain among the monarchy's most globally recognized figures. That would absolutely force strategic reconsiderations behind closed doors, especially if concerns exist about the monarchy's long-term international appeal. And that brings us back to the central question causing so much panic among commentators. If King Charles truly lacked confidence in Harry, why would rumors of ongoing communication continue surfacing again and again? Why would reconciliation narratives keep returning? Why would reports repeatedly suggest private contact? Why would government-linked discussions allegedly involve Harry at all? These are not small questions, and the fact that they continue emerging suggests something deeper may indeed be happening quietly behind palace walls. Now, here is where things become even more dramatic. Some observers believe King Charles may understand that the monarchy cannot survive long-term through rigidity alone. Modern institutions must evolve. They must adapt. They must appear compassionate. They must remain globally relevant. And regardless of whether critics like it or not, Harry and Meghan represent a modern global image far more effectively than many traditional royal figures. They understand contemporary media. They understand younger audiences. They understand international culture. They understand storytelling. And perhaps most importantly, they understand visibility in the digital age. That matters enormously, especially when public attention spans are shorter than ever and global audiences are increasingly skeptical of overly controlled public relations strategies. Now let's address the elephant stomping dramatically through the palace corridors. If Charles and government figures truly view Harry as someone capable of contributing positively to Britain's international image, what does that imply about perceptions surrounding William and Kate? That is the question driving enormous discomfort right now. Because some critics built an entire narrative portraying William and Kate as the stable future, while Harry and Meghan were painted as reckless outsiders. But public conversations are evolving. People increasingly notice differences in charisma, communication style, energy, emotional warmth, and global resonance. And fair or unfair, comparisons are inevitable, especially when Harry and Meghan continue attracting international excitement, while other royal appearances sometimes struggle to generate similar enthusiasm beyond British tabloid coverage. Now, none of this means William and Kate lack supporters. Of course they have supporters. But the intensity of global fascination surrounding Harry and Meghan remains uniquely powerful. And perhaps that reality explains why certain commentators appear increasingly desperate to diminish them constantly. Because influence they cannot control is influence they deeply fear. Meanwhile, Harry and Meghan continue moving forward with confidence. They continue raising their family privately, they continue building projects, they continue championing causes, they continue creating media content, they continue appearing at international events. And every single time critics predict their downfall,
somehow the Sussexes emerge stronger, calmer, and even more globally relevant than before. That consistency frustrates critics enormously. Now let's discuss the emotional side of this, because beneath all the headlines and royal gossip lies something profoundly human. At the heart of this entire story is a father and son relationship shaped by grief, distance, pressure, public scrutiny, and complicated family dynamics. Prince Harry lost his mother in one of the most publicly traumatic events in modern history. Every aspect of his pain unfolded under relentless global attention. He grew up navigating unimaginable media intrusion while carrying deep emotional wounds. And throughout adulthood, he repeatedly spoke about the need to protect his wife and children from similar harm. Many people understand that instinct completely, especially parents, especially those who know what it means to fight fiercely for family. Now, whether people agree with every decision Harry made or not, millions recognize the emotional truth beneath his choices. He wanted peace. He wanted protection. He wanted freedom from toxic cycles. And for many listeners around the world, that feels profoundly relatable. That emotional relatability is part of why attempts to villainize Harry completely never fully succeeded. People saw vulnerability. People saw sincerity. People saw pain. And increasingly, people saw courage. Now, imagine King Charles recognizing all of this privately. Imagine understanding that despite public tensions, Harry remains deeply loved globally, and perhaps far more valuable to the monarchy's emotional future than certain advisors initially believed. That possibility changes everything, because institutions survive not merely through tradition, but through emotional legitimacy. And emotional legitimacy is something Harry and Meghan possess naturally among large global audiences. Now, let's take a moment to appreciate the sheer irony of how dramatically narratives can collapse over time. For years, commentators insisted Harry would disappear into irrelevance once separated from royal structures. Yet, here we are, still discussing him constantly, still analyzing his influence, still watching every move generate headlines, still seeing commentators react emotionally whenever his name surfaces. That is not irrelevance. That is enduring influence. And honestly, the louder the outrage becomes, the clearer that influence appears.
That's all for now, squaddies. It's your get-to-go girlfriend, Annabelle Charisse, and I am beyond grateful you spent this sparkling royalty session with me today. Never forget to stay bold, stay brilliant, stay fearless, and never allow anybody to dim your magnificent shine in this wild, dramatic, unpredictable world of crowns, cameras, and royal chaos. Keep speaking truth, keep supporting compassion, keep believing in resilience, and always remember that love, courage, and authenticity will outshine bitterness every single time. Until next time, my fellow squaddies, I love you all to the moon and back.